Hello there, and a very, very warm welcome to my YouTube this evening. We're going to take a look at Halifax bombers that crashed near Salcombe in Devon. Principally, they were aiming for RAF Bolt Head, the advanced landing ground that was located just to one side of Salcombe town. Now, the Halifax bombers were returning. The one in particular, we're looking at the 27th of November 1943. RAF Bolt Head had been informed by sector operations that a Halifax believed to be in trouble was heading for Bolt Head. The cloud base at the time was 500 to 800 feet. Mortar signals were fired. The pilot saw them and he landed his aircraft at Bolt Head at 0919. The aircraft was flying from Bleeda in North Africa, and its destination was RAF Rawcliffe near York. One engine had stopped completely and the other three were giving trouble. RAF Bolt Head was formed in 1941 as an advanced landing ground. It wasn't designed for bombers. It really wasn't designed for Lancasters, Halifaxes or B-17s, but they all landed here. Some of them landed and could take off again. One of them managed to make a forced landing on 3 engines, and the second one, about a year later, actually crashed, but the crew were found to be uninjured, although the aircraft was a complete write-off. The second Halifax bomber that we're going to take a look at is on the 7th of August 1944, so this is almost a year later, and in the early hours RAF Bolt Head received a message of distress. A Halifax was reported to have crash landed near Bolt Head. A search was made for the crew, 5 of whom were located and brought to the aerodrome, and the other 2 were found subsequently to be in a farmhouse completely unhurt. I would like to say a massive thank you to all my new subscribers. It's been really appreciated, and we're pushing on now towards 14,000. It would be great if you would consider subscribing. It's absolutely cost-free and there's no hassle whatsoever. So please have a subscribe. It'd be great to get to 14,000. Thank you. The other interesting fact which came up while I was researching for this particular film, there were, and I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other Halifaxes that crash landed in Devon during the wartime. One of them, actually not that far away, approximately 25 to 30 miles in a straight line as a crow flies, was RAF Harrowby, which is on the very edge of Dartmoor near Yelverton, and it was here that Halifax from 35 Squadron crash landed. I'll do some more investigating and we'll talk about these aircraft as we go along. Another interesting fact I came across was regarding that Halifax that crash landed at RAF Harrowby. That Halifax was from 35 Squadron. Wing Commander Leonard Cheshire flew with 35 Squadron. In fact, he completed 3 tours with 35 Squadron before moving on to 76 Squadron, and then finally flying with 617 Squadron much later in the war, flying the Avro Lancasters. Leonard Cheshire was no great respecter of authority. On one mission near the end of his tour with 35 Squadron, he looked at the route map to the target and noted there would be a great deal of flak over the chosen flight path. Asked afterwards about the flight, Cheshire wryly replied, "We took a different route." Soft-spoken, considerate and thoughtful, he was also unorthodox, independently minded and unconventional in his thinking. He was both the youngest group captain in the service and the most decorated. Historian Max Hastings wrote, "Cheshire was a legend in bomber command and a remarkable man with an almost mythical air about him, as if he somehow inhabited a different planet from those about him, but without affection or pretension," said Flight Sergeant Tom Gallantry, DFC, who served under Cheshire in 76 Squadron. "I felt at the time and I've always felt that it was an honour to be a member of his squadron. Everyone felt the same way about him. Aircrew, ground crew, he was a terrific character. After the completion of his 4th tour of duty, Leonard Cheshire, in July 1944, was awarded the Victoria Cross. The Victoria Cross is usually bestowed for a particularly marked event of bravery. In Cheshire's case, the award was given for his behaviour over the course of his entire operational career. At the investiture ceremony at Buckingham Palace, both Cheshire and Warrant Officer Norman Jackson were to receive the VC from King George VI. On that day, and despite the disparity in rank, Cheshire insisted that they approach the King together. Upon reaching the King, Jackson recalled Cheshire offering and saying, "This chap stuck his neck out more than I did. He should get his VC first." The King kept to protocol and awarded Group Captain first, but Jackson later stated he would never forget what Cheshire said. Group Captain Leonard Cheshire was one of Bomber Command's most courageous and fearless leaders of World War II. After completing 102 missions, he was awarded the Victoria Cross in July 1944, one of only 32 airmen to win the medal for an extended period of outstanding effort and sustained courage, rather than for a single act of valour. We're just going to hear Group Captain Leonard Cheshire speaking at the opening of the 1955 film The Dam Busters. It's very interesting what he has to say. I think you'll find it very worthwhile.
I'm very happy indeed to have been given this opportunity of sending just a few words of good wishes to you. Unfortunately, your letter arrived only just before I have to leave, so this is a very hurried message. But I do assure you that it comes with all my heart, and I would like to feel that I'm speaking to you on behalf of the members of the squadron. We were very privileged to be allowed to take part in the operations of that squadron, and I feel privileged to have been able to try and follow in the footsteps of Guy Gibson and the others who set the pattern for the squadron. They were, as you know, all volunteers, and so that meant that as many had given up their rank, dropped a rank in order to join it, that we perhaps didn't have the same regard for higher authority that I suppose one should. But I hope never to the breach of good discipline. We had the greatest respect for our AOC, Sir Ralph Cochrane. He was a man with an outstanding mind. He would question everything, but if he once was convinced, then you knew that he was 100% behind you. We were composed of many different nationalities: Australians, Canadians, New Zealanders, 2 Americans. And I think we gained from that. I think today we have a little lesson to learn, or rather that we've learned a lesson that perhaps in those days we hadn't. The necessity of joining together, whatever our country, whatever our belief, whatever our background, in working for a better world. In the squadron, in our small way, we hoped that we were making such contribution as we could, small though it was, to ending the war. And in our minds, ending the war meant winning peace. But everybody, until the end of time, has got to work and sacrifice and perhaps, though God forbid, fight once again in order to ensure peace. Because peace can only be founded on justice and freedom and the dignity of the individual. And if we want peace, then we have to work to put right injustice. We have to work to fill the gap between the poorer countries and the richer countries, each generation according to the circumstances of his time. Well, I wasn't here to give you a lecture. I'm far away from you, but I like to feel that I'm with you in the room, in spirit, and from all the boys in the squadron, and I suppose the WAFs, one or two of whom I have still kept in touch with, I would like to send warmest wishes. Thank you for taking an interest in what the squadron did, and God bless. Thank you.
Interesting fact that popped up while I was researching this film and my earlier film on the ATA ladies. The ATA delivered 9,326 Halifax aircraft alone. Now, Lettice Curtis flew 222 Halifaxes. She was the first lady to deliver Lancasters solo, and during wartime she delivered a total of 1,500 aircraft, including as well 109 short Stirlings, a Liberator and a B-17. Now that's quite remarkable. Marion Wilberforce, another ATA lady pilot, was only one of 11 ladies that flew Lancasters during World War II. Well, I really hope you found that short film of interest. I thought, with regard to the Halifax bomber, the Handley Page Halifax bomber, the fact that two crash landed at Salcombe at RAF Bolt Head during 1943 and 1944 was quite interesting, but also the fact that many other Halifax bombers crash landed in different parts of Devon during the Second World War. This is apart from all the other bombers, the Lancasters, the B-17s, the Liberators, which were all flying into RAF Bolt Head during World War II. And it's been a very interesting look back at the time between 1941 and 1946 at RAF Bolt Head, and particularly interesting to listen to Group Captain Leonard Cheshire talking about his time flying with 617 Squadron. Of course, bear in mind he also flew with 35 Squadron and 76 Squadron. I wish you all the very best and take the greatest of care, and I look forward to seeing you on the next film. Cheers for now.